Elaine Mingus, we're hanging out with you. What's going on?
Not much, just hanging out and enjoying the new cooler weather that's happening.
Elaine Mingus, we're here with the vastsolutionsgroup.com world. I'm not sure who this is going to, but real quickly, who are you? Tell us all about you.
My name is Elaine Mingus. I am the former United States of America's Mrs. Texas 2025. I just gave up my crown. I am also a author, speaker, blogger, mom of 7, wife of 22 years, just all the hats that I wear all the time, depending on the day.
I love it. I love it. And we're doing a strategic alliance. We didn't expect to go live, but I guess we're announcing to the world that we're doing a strategic alliance and we're hanging out. And my name's Kenner French. I'm leader of vastsolutionsgroup.com. We're changing in a lot of ways. I've been media shy for so many years. I used to joke about social media, but now we're going big time. January 1st, we're basically almost becoming a media company. We're still going to be a tax finance and artificial intelligence oriented company, but at the same time, there's so many people that some can't afford some of our products, services, et cetera. So we're going to release a number of products, services, et cetera, to the marketplace, doing it via social media, doing it via media. And at the same time, we're still going to have our core services of, tax, finance, and AI for real estate investors who are pretty well heeled. But at the same time, I feel good that we're giving some of our services to the out there, people out there in the internet sphere, and where you and I are doing the strategic alliance, and that you're going to help me get the word out. And I'm all excited because you have an unbelievable background. Let's go over your background a little bit more in depth. So why is it that you're now talking to people, men, women, et cetera, entrepreneurs about finance, and maybe even go into your speakerpreneurship, if you will, and pageantpreneurship, if you will?
Yeah, so I have been in the marketing, digital communications is what I've coined it at this point, since 2000. And so I've been, early adopter of, doing web design, had to learn, we all learned coding, right, on MySpace, but then took it to using Dreamweaver and WYSIWYGs like that, but then also just doing some coding and learning how to do graphic design. I have a journalistic background. And so I've kind of combined copywriting, the graphic and the digital, beautiful beautification of the internet, and then, learning how to bring it into light and make it easy, when in a time when people were hand coding and doing things in pages at a time. I was already learning how to, call items up and make sure that large websites were, you know, across the board seamless, and the menus were all the same and stuff like that, which was new then. Now it's very commonplace. And so then I entered into the blogging world and the world of Pinterest and the world of ebooks and how to make money. You could get rich quick on becoming a blogger type of thing. Write some ebooks, speaker, writer. And then, in the middle of that, having 7 kids and homeschooling them on top of it, which taught me the art of being as fast as possible and getting as much content out there as I could between chicken nuggets and nap time. And then after that, finally had my last baby and decided to, do what I do, is share my story of overcoming abuse and addiction and doing that through pageantry. So then I was crowned United States of America's Mrs. Texas, was invited to DC with a national group called RAIN, and to talk to legislators about making sure that victims have the resources they need post abuse. And then continuing on my journey through being involved in a program called Speakpreneur with Paul Getter, and then also launching out my own business where I'm helping women share their stories that are already in pageantry, but teaching them how to do it on social media, communicating effectively in an overly saturated market. So that's
Yeah, I
where we
love
are
it.
right now.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. So wait a minute. So you kind of, I got to peel the onion a little bit. Tell us a little bit, if you feel okay. Tell us a little bit about your background. You said something about you have some knowledge of abuse. I think you said drug addiction. You want to go in that? If you don't feel comfortable, I totally get it.
No, it is one of my favorite things to talk about because there are hard things that happen in life. And I think in a very beautified world where everybody looks perfect, it's really important to remember that there are things that make everybody hurt. And so I was 13 years old and we were very involved in the group what I didn't realize is that one of the most dangerous predators usually comes in the form of somebody that, looks like they're going to help. And so I was abused by a youth pastor. My mom was very upset and went to the main pastor. The pastor said, "We have been told what he did. He confessed. We believe that she seduced him." And
Whoa,
so,
what? Are
yeah,
you serious?
yeah. And so
Yeah.
I walked out of that at 13 years old, immediately knowing that I was to blame. Like, I mean, and I just internalized that because because that's what I was told. And so when you don't, so my platform for pageantry is storytelling. I help people tell their stories because I didn't tell my story. I told my mom, "Let's not go to the police because obviously I'm the bad guy here." And when you do that, when you tell your story, it heals. When you hold it back, it destroys. And so what I did is destroyed my entire life, got into alcohol, into drugs, harder and harder and harder drugs, until it was a heroin addiction, had an eating disorder for 8 years, which left me wapishly thin. And yeah, just was not on a right path. And so after that moment, one day I walked into a church and God completely transformed my life. And since that moment, I vowed that I'm going to bring light to the darkness and set the captives free by sharing my story and then empowering other women and men to share their stories.
Yeah, that story is unbelievable. I mean, the typical person I seem to hang out with, they've, succeeded all the way along the lines. They haven't had any real pressures in life, and obviously, clearly, you have. That's an unbelievable story. I don't even know. I don't even want to go into it too much because we need to save some for later episodes. But I will ask you a couple of things about, you're good at getting people to share their story. You've actually gotten me to relinquish some of my information, which I'm pretty private, which I think is pretty cool. So as a business, because you work with entrepreneurs, um, how is it? Explain a little bit more about how you want people to tell their story, and does that equate to revenue and net income down the road?
Yes, it absolutely has to equate to revenue. I mean, we all can share our stories on pulpits for free and the nonprofits and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, if you are sharing your story on a mass scale, if you are not making money, then you're going to burn out really quickly. And I know that for a fact, because when I was blogging, I was sharing my life and I wanted to make money, but it was kind of like a side quest. And that really hurt because I was pouring out all of everything else that I had after homeschooling, after taking care of my house, after, working out and taking care of my husband to
Mhm.
something that wasn't giving me anything back. Yes, it was giving me likes and, followers and stuff like that. But when your kids come up to you and they're asking you for a pair of socks and you're like, well, maybe next paycheck, that's not a really good feeling. And, as a mom, and I could have spent my time doing something else. And so when I gave that all up around 2020, due to a variety of reasons, I stepped into a world of vintage furniture reselling where I learned the art of selling a product. And that really opened my eyes how to how to make money online. And then through pageantry, I've been able to, mesh the two where I'm using a sales tactic, but I'm also doing this very altruistic thing where, you're sharing your story and you're helping other people share their story. And so I am specifically designing my pageantpreneur course to help women how to fund their pageants, first of all, because pageantry is a very expensive hobby and there's ways to do it. And then maybe potentially monetizing that pageant journey. And because they are influencers, whether they're micro influencers or,
Mhm.
large scale influencers, they can still learn how to do things so that they can give something back or get something back from all that they're giving out. So yeah, you absolutely have to be able to make money in this world. I mean, it's nice to do things for
Mhm.
free, but you want to make sure you're choosing what you're doing for free instead of being forced to do it for
Yeah.
free.
Oh, totally. So you wanna be the coach to, uh, pageant people entering pageants, that's ultimately what you're saying. But who's your avatar? I mean, who's the perfect avatar for Elaine?
So the perfect avatar, and there is such thing as pageant coaching where you're talking about interview coaching and walking
Right,
coaching.
for
Mine
sure,
is
yeah.
more on the other. on the other thing, though it does play, they do all play together. But my perfect avatar is a woman that is already polished. She's already doing things online. She has her story. She has like a couple different boxes, like nice and neatly arranged. But for some reason, she's not making headway. She's, not making money. So just honing and refining those tiny little tidbits that really can launch her out into the successful career that I think that she could have. So that's probably the best description of them. And I love the pageant world because the women that enter into pageants, they're already spending the money on themselves, meaning AKA investing in themselves, but they're also have like a platform and a reason why they're doing this. They have beautiful stories. And so it kind of, you know, there's a large majority of women out there that are trying to do amazing things, but the pageant world really has just culled that group into a very specific group that is willing to invest in themselves, number one, because that is something that is necessary. If you're not willing to spend money on coaching, on, making sure that everything looks polished, then, you're not ready.
It's not gonna work.
And so
Yeah.
that's
Yeah. So I would guess, yeah, you're not gonna succeed unless you're investing in yourself, which that's true of a business owner, right? Hold on, let's talk about our business, what we're talking about. When you step into a new role, people never really know what the role is gonna be. So now here we're doing a strategic alliance. We haven't I mean, we've talked, but you never know what it's gonna, turn into. So what are your goals in working with us to help expand whatever it is we have going on here at fastsolutionsgroup.com? What's Kenner French thinking, meaning the new podcast name, et cetera. What are you thinking there?
Well, I think our vision aligns. So you had talked about doing kind of a media group or an omni media, which is exactly what I had been thinking all along. So, partnering with somebody who's already doing it and you have an audience and I have an audience, I think putting them together, I mean, there's, more power, with more people. And so one of the dreams that I had is when I look at speaking agencies, agencies that find people speaking engagements and then they take a cut and percentage. I find that they're very masculine in nature, a lot of navy and silver and not millennial, not Gen Z, not Gen Alpha focused. Like, and there's a
Mhm.
lot of Gen Z that not necessarily Gen Z yet, millennial, Gen Z that are going to have a very different take on the world and be speaking to a different audience. And so creating a more female centric speakers bureau or omni media was really my focus. But at this point, if I can do it with somebody alongside somebody else and have the more feminine part on this side where we have rhinestones and pinks and boba tea. I'll do it.
Dude, I totally know what you mean. And that's what we need. I'll be blunt because I don't even want to be the talent. I'd rather someone else be the talent. You be the talent because I'm just I like being in the best way to say it is if there's a talent out there and they're the face of the company and I can come around and be the personality portion or the process and systems person, that's personally what I want. Because with all the AI that we have going on, we are a systems company, even though it's in the fintech space. And at the same time, me being media shy, it's just not my gig. But at the same time, going back to what I was saying earlier, I think nowadays because of AI, you have to be a media company. I know it sounds crazy, but it's true because people want to see a real skin, not fake, at least for a while. And I think that if you're media and you're out there, that's going to equate to more business down the road versus, some of the AI things or people who are media shy. Being media shy doesn't work anymore. It just does not work in today's environment.
No, no, and I'm just gonna challenge. I don't know how media shy you are. You claim that.
Yeah,
You seem to be out there quite a bit. So
not
we
really.
say
I
that
mean, not in
way,
a good way.
not
You
in
know
what
what?
it
Like you probably know Gary Vee. You ever heard of that guy?
means.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, like, and he says you have to be on, on all the different media sites, social media sites. He says you have to be doing all, and posting all the time. That's not my gig. And I'm so embarrassed. I talked to you about this earlier. I would, I would, do a post and people would respond and I would never respond back. And that's like the worst thing, right? And then I would, And what's crazy, all of a sudden I would get a post that would not go viral. I've never been viral, but all of a sudden it hit pretty well. And then I would be like, I would cower. I don't understand why I would do that, but I just wouldn't respond thereafter. And that's the worst thing. But now I'm like, well, wait a minute, it's time. Plus, by the way, I'm in the latter part of my career. I'm going to die soon, probably. Knock on wood. Hopefully that's not the case. So I want a legacy because I believe fintech and AI and quantum computing is going to be the thing in the future. And that's my legacy. I've had fun doing that. And now I think going forward, that's going to be a big thing that's going to help people with their finance, meaning, artificial intelligence. And that's, oh, by the way, I'm going to talk about my book, Modern Millions AI, make millions, save millions, protect millions. I mean, people don't realize that artificial intelligence and technology can help people's finances, can help lower taxes. So now's the time for me to get out there, but I'm still media shy. I really am.
Yeah.
You're going to be
But
much better than I
I don't think you're alone. I think that,
am.
I'm 45, I don't know how old you won't guess, but, and my husband's 53. And we entered this space of technology and like the absolute boomiest part. And so we're holding on to this like where, you're like, I do appreciate this offline world. And then sometimes there's like the demonization of the online world. And so I can totally understand why you're like, I'm just not going to respond. And I think where I've seen you like just embracing all of it and just having fun with it. And then treating the people that are commenting on your posts as if they're real life people that we're talking to in real life. And in real life, you wouldn't ignore them. You would respond back. But, and if you have a million followers and a million comments, you can't respond back to each one. But responding back, I think we're all learning the etiquette of online and not feeling guilty for being online. I think there's a lot of demonization of being online and doing it too much. And of course, sometimes we do too much, and that's just because it's our whole world now.
Yeah, totally, totally. I've looked back a bunch of your posts. You have a very good, and I even mentioned this to you. I think you have a great online presence, and your persona is cool, and you're very reachable. Which that reminds me, as I've been paying attention a little bit more so now to people online, social media, I didn't realize this. I thought like before people would people I would post and people would respond, I'd blow it off. And so, because I felt like I was too busy, I had anxiety about it. And then all of a sudden I had a VA virtual assistant or employee respond, and that went nowhere because they were nothing like me, my personality. And then anyway, there's a long story. And then all of a sudden I started paying attention, at least recently, to some of the people when I replied to their posts who I thought were way too big and important, and they're actually responding. And what happens is we get engaged and then there's a connection. I didn't realize that. And I think it's kind of cool now that when I do respond and someone's cool enough to, make a comment on my comment or on my post, I think it's kind of cool now. Whereas before I didn't think it's cool, but now it's like, hey, if I could get a relationship with potential, even if they're not a customer, just one more person, if they're sitting in a cave in Zimbabwe or whatever, I think it's kind of cool if I've been able to help someone with the idea that I have.
Yeah, I mean, I've had famous people like Corey Asbury like literally respond back in a
Who's
DM
that?
to something. Corey Asbury,
Uh,
he's a Christian, a pretty famous Christian artist, really down to earth. Victor Marx has like responded back in a DM to me when I've commented on his thing, and it makes you endears yourself to that celebrity. And now if you mention the name Corey Asbury or Victor Marx or somebody else that's responded to me in a DM, I immediately will be like, "Oh my gosh, I love him." And
I
that
know.
word of mouth, like, I mean, he did that thing that took him 2 seconds, and forever and ever, I will be a walking advertisement. So I think it's
Yeah.
great to respond because you never know who people who are you're being looked up to, like, or somebody is looking up to you. And so when you respond, you think I'm just somebody, I'm just a mom. I'm wearing my yoga pants, and they are like, "Oh my gosh, she responded to me," and you're like, "I'm just me, but I'm I'm glad that you think I'm
Yeah.
special."
I 100% know what you mean. And by the way, I used to think I was too cool. I didn't want to do any marketing. I was just too cool. I don't know what I was thinking. I was so idiotic. I was so stupid. But at least now I'm changing course. I'm going in media. It'll help the business. Plus, again, if I could help someone who's, in a whatever, less maybe a disadvantaged situation, but they need some tax help because of AI and it helps them, it's all good.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and speaking of AI, one of the cool things with AI is that, we were talking the other day about creating AI bots and using a behind the scenes database. And there's ways that I mean, I'm not sure now if the way that ManyChat, because ManyChat will auto DM people on social media,
Mhm.
is that eventually, if not already, there will be a way that you could put a database of your personality and the type of things you talk about and the answers, and then AI will be able to pull from a Elaine bot or a Kenner bot and answer in the way that you always, so you won't have to pay a VA, which is, great for us that are trying to cut costs, and also just that you don't have to train, if your VA leaves, you have to train a new VA.
100%. And there's a company called HeyGen. I think you and I talked about it. Well, the owner's pretty cool guy, co-founder's pretty cool guy. And basically, you can do a podcast, you could do a presentation with a bot that you put in that actually almost seems like it's you. It's unbelievable. And I can't imagine where it's going to be in just a short order. It's going to really seemingly be us. But what you're saying is, yeah, I think you're right. I won't have to train an employee per se because that bot could be acting as if almost as if it was an extension of us or one of our employees. I totally agree with what you're saying, although it's a little scary, but at the same time, if we can lower our cost of you know, to some of our, potential clients, it might work out for them because they're paying at a lower rate, so we might be able to help more people, but you're right, potentially not employ quite as many people.
Yeah,
That is in
yeah.
itself,
I
which,
mean,
by the way.
but you hit, I mean, your caveat hit the nail on the head with AI is this weird place where we are having to use AI and we want to use AI, but then we also are
Mhm.
like, wait a second, we're like getting rid of a whole VA job, and but I also don't want to employ a VA that I have to constantly, tell them, "No, that's not exactly right. That's," and when you can train a AI. So we're living in this weird space that I think we're all grappling with. Like, we love AI, but we hate AI. I mean, I was watching a doctor give advice on TikTok, and the moment he, like, said an acronym, but he, like, said it out, like, as if it were a word, and I was like, "Oh, this is his AI bot." And it immediately, like, brought down that credibility. Not that I didn't believe what he was saying, but it was just that I do think that we still are craving that human connection. So it's gonna be a weird tightrope walk that we walk in the next couple of years for sure.
It will be weird. I can but, hey, I'm glad I'm alive now to be able to experience it because I think it'll be it's a fun time. I mean, it's gonna help I think AI is gonna help society, and then it could potentially even hurt humanity, but I'm here during that time. I might as well take advantage of it. Hence the reason I came out with my book because I wanted to, you know, if I could help someone with artificial intelligence during the good times, who knows? Maybe it'll make for a less of a bad time, if that makes sense. And
Yeah,
I believe in that. I mean, it is scary what's going to happen, and there's some ethical issues. It's going to lead us to quantum computing, which is going to be huge. But then again, it could be bad. It could be destabilizing to humanity. But I'm here during the good times, and hopefully, what I can do is help out to the extent possible.
yeah, that's all we can hope for sure.
So I say we close up this. I didn't know we were going to be live. I hit the weird button apparently, but I'm all excited about this collaboration. I think things are going to be based on our little conversation right here. I know we're going to be rocking and rolling here pretty soon.
I think it's gonna be amazing, so I'm glad. So I don't think anything was an accident. I think you're supposed to click the button. We'll call it Providence. So
Sounds good. All right, guys. This is Elaine Mingus hanging out with me, Kenner French. What's Kenner French thinking? Talk to you guys later.
bye.